thank you for sitting down with me.
My pleasure.
As I was sharing with you just before now, I was racing to finish your book.
Oh, yes.
In my skin.
Oh, good, thank you.
And I was literally today, I had the few pages left this morning and I was blow drying my hair, reading it at the same time, trying to get it done before, you arrived here
Bless
today.
you. You get an elephant stamp for being a especially dedicated reader.
I think I'm just multitasking way too much because I couldn't quite finish it last night.
And the narrative tension also, obviously, with the page turner.
It has been a page turner. But last night I was so tired. I just can't get through the last 15 pages.
So. Okay, you got to the end. You found out everything worked out okay.
Yes, it all. Yep. Well, I knew you were coming today, so I knew that it was going to be a happy ending in the sense that you didn't die.
No.
Which we should probably share why I was concerned about that, because obviously you've ended up in your early 20s becoming a heroin addict.
Yeah.
And then you became a sex worker to support your addiction.
Yeah.
And can you just share a little bit of that story with me, because you're going to share it so much better than I will in recounting the book.
Well, it certainly wasn't what I was planning when I went to university at the age of 17 to do an archaeology degree. I wasn't expecting that was going to be my resume for my 20s, but it just kind of, I'm always careful about the way I describe it. I don't want to say it happened to me, because I think I did it. So I'm very careful to say that I was the one that made things happen. But what happened was that I started using heroin in my early 20s. I did it for about 5 years, living here in Melbourne and living in share houses in St Kilda and so on. And as time went on and my habit grew greater and my tolerance grew higher and I needed more and more drugs and I found less and less chance of getting clean, I started doing sex work. First of all on St Kilda streets, and then I worked into a brothel, in the other side of town, and another brothel, and I also did that for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And then in 2001, I think I just finally got to the point of exhaustion with the heroin.
Yeah.
That I somehow managed to get myself off it, which was a bit of a complicated business, and I did it, and that was 13 years ago. I kept working in sex work for a little bit, and then I went overseas to Italy, and my life kind of changed again. Mm-hmm. And I've been through a few chapters since then, but here I am.
Okay, so we'll get to those chapters, but so I mean, obviously, I remember growing up, my dad always put the fear in, don't ever have drugs, you get addicted. Like I was scared to have anything because I was so scared I'd get addicted to anything. Just in in that stage of life, we're young, we think we can handle anything. I'm not going to get addicted.
Way too smart.
Way too smart. And
so
you obviously were, and still are, very smart. You're a bright girl. You've done really well at school. You went to Melbourne University. The
very swotty. Yeah.
Yes.
I always handed my homework in on time early.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that is absolutely not the trap, but it's the predicament that young people are often in, is that you are just feeling your way, and adolescence especially is the time when you are testing yourself out. So you learn how to drive, maybe you learn how to move out of home, you learn how to go out with new people, you learn to go to university in my case. You try on new things and you are scared of lots of them, and then you keep finding that you were scared, but then you went on and did it, it was fine.
Yeah.
And so this gives you the confidence that you need to become a young adult and go into the world. But at the same time, it also can tell you, just a little bit too much confidence. And I think I thought I was just smart enough and too clever, and I had friends around me, and my parents had always said don't do drugs. In fact, I was completely straight edge until I was about 20. I didn't even smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
My friends took drugs and drank and smoked, but I was horrified. I thought they were idiots, and I was a judgy young lady. And so with all of that behind me, when I thought I'd do drugs, I just imagined that somehow I would just dip in and then, walk away again.
Well, in the book, you described yourself as feeling so brave when you did, you injected yourself the first time, like you were so brave.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I always talk about courage being feeling the fear and doing it anyway, but that there's also a difference between, you know, being brave and being reckless, being courageous and being, you know, foolish.
When you're young, you don't know. It all feels the same, right?
Yeah.
Especially because I was a very fearful person. So for me, everything felt like a hugely brave effort. Even just
everything was scary. So you didn't know really what you should have been scared of and what you shouldn't have been scared of.
No.
Yeah.
Like going to a new tutorial at uni was scary, you know, talking to new people and everything. So I was feeling pretty good by the time I got into heroin, because I had gone to uni and I had friends. I played in a band, you know, I'd got up on stage and played my bass guitar, and I thought I was really rocking it. And I had my nose pierced, which was scary, and I had, you know, they were so
like, wow.
So it's pathetic now. I look back, it was absolutely pitiful. But at the time, it felt like I'd really conquered lots of things. And I think I had the idea that that's what your young years are about, is about testing yourself out and trying new things and expanding your horizons. And a lot of it is, and a lot of it's great and not dangerous. So I'd tried marijuana, you know, I'd been smoking pot for a few years by the time I tried heroin, and that had gone down fine. So I had a little bit of cockiness, but at the same time, I've got to say that I was terrified of heroin. I mean, I didn't approach it in a light-hearted way at all. Yeah. In fact, I didn't. I think I saw it very much as the ultimate test. Right. And when I heard that my boyfriend at the time and his friends were doing it, which they did very kind of quietly and sneakily. Yeah, James. This is the 90s when heroin suddenly swept into Australia, and so it was very close all of a sudden. Instead of being, you know, junkies on the street over there, suddenly it was in my living room with my boyfriend. And when they started doing it, I was just absolutely gutted. I was so shocked and horrified that this thing had come so close, that in my mind, somehow I thought, this is my challenge. This is another one of those things that scares me so much.
I'll conquer it.
I've got to go there. And if they can do it, you know, I can do it.
And you felt a bit left out, you said.
Yeah, well,
they were doing it. How come you weren't invited?
Someone actually compared the other day what it's like when your friends start having babies and you haven't. And you think, how did they get it together to take that leap? It's such a big leap to go into the unknown, and yet there they are. They're on the other side of the river. And you think, well, maybe I can, you know, with a run up.
Yeah.
And I felt a lot like that for me. I think I just thought, if I can do it, then I can join them again. And I desperately wanted to be with them. No one told me to do the drugs, I've got to say. No one ever said, have a go. In fact, it was almost the opposite. They said, why don't you go home, Kate? And I thought, oh, they think I'm not cool enough.
You know, and then obviously the addiction took hold. It just gradually got worse and worse and worse.
Yes, slowly though. People think of the idea that heroin just grabs you immediately, and before you know it, like, you're snivelling on the floor.
And you had chances to turn, you know, you went to rehab, you had chances, but the pull was so strong.
You know, it's really not the drug in your veins that gets you, it's the drug in your head, and it's the idea of it. It's this promise that heroin holds out to you. And at the start, it's very seductive. So at the start, you don't feel bad at all. You don't have withdrawal symptoms. Everyone's great. You know, in those days, people smoked, so we were sucking down cigarettes. You know, everything feels wonderful. It doesn't cost that much at the start, you know, just a bit here and a bit there. Yeah. So it was more that we got the idea that nothing was going to be as wonderful without it. So if it was a bad day, you think, let's get on, it'll make it better. And if it was a great day, you think it can be even more lovely. Yeah. So it was really the drug in our heads, and the idea that also, I suppose, that we were doing something so naughty and transgressional, and you know, that people were after. But the fact that my friends were looking at me, my non-using friends were looking at me going, "You're an idiot, what are you doing?" I thought that meant that I was cool, and I was doing something brave.
As you look back now at the Kate, the 22-year-old Kate, the 23-year-old Kate, and that when you were in that finding yourself at the beginning of that slippery slope, but not realising that you were there at the time because you were still in control, or so you thought. So
smart.
Yeah. You know, when you look back now, do you see that was fed by, part of it may be an insecurity, some level of, I have to prove something here. I'm not good enough without proving this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's just me that feels that, that felt that when I was young.
No, I had it too.
It's shocking, isn't it? And what's more, we do it in such formulaic ways. I mean, like, it should be enough that you're brave in yourself, but it has to be certain markers. And, you know, we don't have big initiation rites anymore, so, you know, not formal ones. So we tend to kind of make them up. And things like the first time you shoot drugs in my day, that was a big one. Or the first time you go to a rally and get arrested, you know, or whatever it was. I guess I just felt that my boyfriend and his friends, they were younger than I was, but so clever and artistic and really bold and interesting, and I felt dumb and frumpy. And so it was so exciting to be taken in with them.
Yeah.
And then off I went, and I guess that was the first part of constructing this new persona, which was quite a hard person, like quite a tough cookie.
Well,
and I'm such a soft
dork. I get that about you. And obviously then as things got worse, well, I say worse, but as they evolved and unfolded, and you ended up, in the sex work, originally on the streets, walking the streets of St Kilda with mugs coming along and getting in the car for $50 or whatever it was. You had to harden because life it was so far from what you had imagined yourself to be doing that you shut down your feeling. Yeah. And it was a long time before you let yourself feel again.
Yeah, well, you have to. It's not that you become a kind of an unfeeling person altogether, but first of all, heroin is an anaesthetic. That's why people like it.
Yeah.
And it has a way of making everything seem a little distant and removed. That's what the drug does to you. And when you're not taking the drug, when you're going into the withdrawal, nothing else matters apart from the pain you're in. So it automatically takes you away from the world.
You're either numb, or you just have to have it again to get numb again.
Yeah, and that's where you are at. And I mean, like really physically. So I could walk around St Kilda in the middle of the night in winter. I started in a singlet because I just didn't feel cold, and I felt that was another layer of protection. And I'm like, look at me, I'm so tough. But what also happens is I just kind of compressed. And one of the things with sex work, and I have a lot of positive things to say about sex work, but one of the things I found in working in that environment, I suppose feeling very vulnerable because I was completely alone, I didn't have anyone looking out for me, was that my boundaries shrank. So, normally people have quite a lot of space between them. And then if you do sex work, a person's right up against you. Yep. In fact, they're inside you. So your sense of personal space and your personal integrity shrinks in
to almost nothing.
Yeah, and compacts. So I thought of it like some kind of ash or dust, kind of getting harder and harder and harder, and turning into some kind of like little stone. Which was a frightening experience. Like, it's not nice to feel it, but it also gave me so much strength and power and comfort, because I think they can never really get to me. I'm always going to be in there embedded.
They can't. Yeah.
Tough as nails.
Yeah.
So, from being this kind of dorky library swot at high school, I got to be someone who, when I walked along the street in St Kilda, nice people would cross the road to avoid me. They would see the look on my face, and I was just, don't mess with me. I wasn't going to hurt anyone, obviously, but I was just one of those people that was one of those damaged people that you see on the street, and there's something frightening about them.
Yeah.